remember that's when I had hope. He was saying, yes, we can. And everybody got less food stamps. And when I turned 21, I was still broke. I'd never vote again. I don't think I ever had a president make my life better. Did it all on my own. Ain't no politician ever do a nice gesture. I don't even know the mayor's name. I ain't never seen her one time ever. Tell me how she gonna help the city. What I'm supposed to do, write letters? What I'm supposed to do, blame Trump? He ain't never really gave a ain't nobody raised minimum wage. None of these jobs pay enough. I think they just want to keep us broke, cause they ain't putting nothing in place for us. This how all my people feel, but we gotta learn. We complained enough, let me change it up. Everything I just said, everybody I know think the same way. See, they don't want to see us vote, and we never do, so we see the same thing. But all our votes really do count, and they'll never really let it show. So now I'm finna break it down, cause if I don't, you would probably never know. First thing first, you know back in middle school when they taught us, it was 3 branches of the government. We forgot it when we got older. It's the judicial, the legislative, and executive. But all we know is the executive. That's the mayor, or the governor, and the president. Now none of them 3 people make no laws, they just be checking them. The laws come to their desk and all they do is say no or yes to it. So when the news station tried to tell us that Barack Obama couldn't put us on, we was all salty at Obama when it was the Congress members all along. We gotta focus on the legislative branch, yeah, they the ones that make the laws. Yeah, they the ones write how much food stamp money you get on the card. But when people that wanted to help us wanted the job, I know they probably lost. Cause we ain't even know their name, we ain't know their face, we ain't know it all. So the Congress or the State House, that's legislative, they make laws. So what we want from the president is what they do, okay y'all? See, they election every 2 years, but we don't ever even go to those. The Congress, they can raise minimum wage, but we ain't even really know it though. So you know how back in 08, when we all voted for Obama, we was all supposed to go back in 2010 and vote for the Congress. Cause they the ones make child support laws, they the ones choose if your kids at school get to eat steak or corn dogs. The State House make the court costs. So if the country failed, then you can't say it's them, it's your fault. Cause y'all ain't know to vote for Congress members that was for y'all. And they don't gotta leave after 4 years, and we just let them sit. See, they don't wanna tell you this, they want you to focus on the president. Now the 3rd branch is the judicial, that's judges. They the reason why John Crawford and Trayvon ain't had justice. So when Meek Mill got locked up just for popping willies, we blame the judge and not the city when they let her get voted in, cause they ain't know who to vote against. Imagine life on the other side. Roads better, schools better, everybody get their license back, grocery store food better, custody of your kids back, homeless people get new shelters. If we gon' fix the U.S., we gotta start with them 2 letters, me and you. Somebody told us that the government wanna keep us broke, but the only reason why those people in the government is cause we ain't vote. And I ain't talking about the president, I'm talking about the ones we ain't know. See, they was gonna try to keep it low, but it's gonna hurt them when they see the pros.
Every time you stay home, someone is making a decision about you, making decisions about the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food your kids eat, and how much money you bring home every 2 weeks. So every time you sit out an election, every time you don't show up because you think it doesn't matter, someone else is happy that you didn't show up, so they can make that decision for you. Vote.
Enough electoral votes, more than 270, more than enough to become the 44th President of the United States. He will be the first African-American President of the United States.
I've been broke all my life, but I kept hope all them nights. You see business in my city? Yeah, they closed all them twice. I was just riding down Salem, all them damn potholes, I can't drive. I know y'all can fix it faster, but I know y'all won't try. Don't nobody care about us. And that's why I don't vote. Voted for Obama back in 2012, I remember that's when I had hope. He was saying, yes, we can. And everybody got less food stamps. And when I turned 21, I was still broke. I'd never vote again. I don't think I ever had a president make my life better. Did it all on my own. Ain't no politician ever do a nice gesture. I don't even know the mayor's name. I ain't never...
This episode of the Cab Grand Rising Show is brought to you by Autochthonous Assembly, where the real work gets done. For the first-time visitors who may be wondering who Autochthonous Assembly is, Autochthonous Assembly, or A2 for short, is a gathering of minds that do the work. A2 is a non-profit organization dedicated to raising up Indigenous Americans' voices by using genealogy, also known as family history or family tree. Genealogy is the study of families and the tracing of their lineages in history. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate kinship and pedigrees of its members. Autochthonous Assembly's core values are the foundation of its company, essential to its success, and serves as the lens through which it evaluates every business decision. The core values are integrity, know and do what is right, respect, treating others the way you want to be treated, responsibility, embrace opportunities to contribute, servant leadership, serve the common good. Along with a key emphasis on genealogy, A2 is also committed to providing our communities with information and access to available grants and funding through the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the United States Department of Agriculture, the Farm Service Agency, and other departments and agencies that offer programs to help them become self-sufficient. Building on a strong community reputation, Autochthonous Assembly continues to strengthen the growth of the relationship and development of our communities. Peace and Grand Rising.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.
Enough electoral votes, more than 270, more than enough to be...
We are live. Greetings, everyone. Greetings, greetings. Hope all is well. How's everyone in the chat this evening? How's the panel this evening?
Stuff from David Corey and P. Parker. Some of them trees and plants from where they at.
Oh, most definitely, especially for David Corey. Let me get this link and get it ready. Pat, put it in the chat. Give me 10 seconds.
10 seconds, checkers.
We got I see in the chats, Liz Robinson said what happened. I don't know, did it go out on that end for a second?
Hold on, let me check.
Yeah, just give us a short ones in the chat so we can make sure everything can be heard loud and clear. Everybody's coming through all right. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. All right, I see the ones in the chat. All right. The link is in the chat. I guess, Gabrielle, whenever you're ready, we can dive on in.
All right.
Basically, we'll be breaking down what people know as civics.
Branches of
Starting
the
with
US. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just reading the title at the same time you was reading the title. You can
Oh,
go ahead.
This is from USA.gov. Branches of the U.S. government. Learn about the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of the U.S. government. On this page, infographic 3 branches of the U.S. government, legislative branch of the U.S. government, judicial branch of the U.S. government, how the U.S. government is organized, executive branch of the U.S. government, infographic how the Supreme Court works. Infographic 3 branches of the U.S. government. Learn the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of the government and see a lesson plan for teachers. PDF, hot link to download. 3 branches of the U.S. government. Constitution provided a separation of powers. Legislative makes laws. Legislative includes Congress, Senate, House of Representatives. Executive carries out laws. Executive consists of president, vice president, and cabinet. Judicial interprets laws. Judicial is Supreme Court and other federal courts. Okay. Description of infographic. U.S. Constitution, the founding. Okay. U.S. Constitution, the founding fathers, the framers of the United States Constitution, wanted to form a government that did not allow one person to have too much control. With this in mind, they wrote the Constitution to provide for a separation of powers, or 3 separate branches of government. Each branch has its own responsibilities, and at the same time, the 3 branches work together to make the country run smoothly and to assure that the rights of the citizens are not ignored or disallowed. This is done through checks and balances. A branch may use its powers to check the powers of the other 2 in order to maintain a balance of power among the 3 branches of government. Legislative, make laws. Congress is composed of 2 parts, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The Senate has 100 elected senators total, 2 senators per state. Each senator serves a 6-year term. House of Representatives. The House has 435 voting representatives. The number of representatives from each state is based on the state's population. Each representative serves a 2-year term and may be reelected. Executive carries out laws. The executive branch is composed of the president, the vice president, and cabinet members. President. The president is the head of state, head of the United States government, and the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military. Vice president. The vice president not only supports the president, but also acts as the presiding officer of the Senate. Cabinet. The cabinet members are nominated by the president and must be approved by the Senate with at least 51 votes. They serve as the president's advisors and heads of various departments and agencies. Judicial evaluates laws. The judicial branch of government is made up of the court system. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the country. The 9 justices are nominated by the president and must be approved by the Senate with at least 51 votes. Other federal courts. There are lower federal courts, but they are not created by the Constitution. Congress established them around the country to handle federal business as the country grew, using power granted by the Constitution. You can download or order a kid's version of our three branches poster. How the U.S. government is organized. The Constitution of the United States divides the federal government into three branches to make sure no individual or group will have too much power. Legislative makes laws. Congress, comprised of the House of Representatives and Senate. Executive carries out laws. President, Vice President, Cabinet, most federal agencies. Judicial evaluates laws. Supreme Court and other courts. Each branch of government can change acts of the other branches. The president can veto legislation created by Congress and nominates heads of federal agencies. Congress confirms or rejects the president's nominees and can remove the president from office in exceptional circumstances. The justice of the Supreme Court, who can overturn unconstitutional laws, are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. This ability of each branch to respond to the actions of other branches is called the system of checks and balances. Legislative branch of the United States government. The legislative branch drafts proposed laws, confirms or rejects presidential nominations for heads of federal agencies, federal judges, and
You know you speeding over this, right? You know you speeding over this. You know that?
My bad.
No, you good. Because I'm sorry. Can we back up?
No, we can back it up.
No, can we back up and reread some stuff? Can you do that? Can you go up about probably another paragraph and read that again?
Okay. How the U.S. government is organized. The Constitution government into three branches to make sure no individual or group will have too much power. Legislative makes laws. Congress, comprised of the House of Representatives and Senate. Executive carries out laws. President, Vice President, Cabinet, most federal agencies. Judicial evaluates laws. Supreme Court and other courts. Each branch of government can change acts of the other branch. Each branch of government can change acts of the other branches.
Can you read that? Can you read that again?
Each branch of government can change acts of the other branches.
One more time.
I got it. I'm thinking. Each branch of government can change acts of the other branches. And a law doesn't come into place until an act is violated, but an act can be revisited and revised or done away with.
Yeah, it'll tell you how it happens in the next three steps. It'll show you how all three can override the other one.
The president can veto legislation created by Congress and nominates heads of federal agencies. Congress confirms or rejects the president's nominees and can remove the president from office in exceptional circumstances. The justice of Supreme Court, who can overturn unconstitutional laws, are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. This ability of each branch to respond to the actions of the other branches is called the system of checks and balances. Man.
Now, who run what? That runs what? To run what?
And the legislative branch is who?
They make the laws. That's Congress and House of Representatives and Senate.
And Congress is who?
You.
We the people. That's all. I yield the mic.
Remember, through the census, through your paying taxes, when
Yeah.
entitled to equal representation, we elect the people that sit in these Senate seats and these congressional seats. And they go on our behalf to represent us and our needs. But now if you don't participate, oh,
Yeah. Perspective. Appreciate that. Thank you. Legislative branch of the United States government. The legislative branch drafts proposed laws, confirms or rejects presidential nominations for heads of federal agencies, federal judges, and Supreme Court, and has the authority to declare war. This branch include what? This branch.
John thought you late, huh? Yes, Congress does have that power.
This branch includes Congress, the Senate. Oh, what we vote for. The branch includes Congress, the Senate, and House of Representatives, and special agencies and offices that provide support service to Congress. American citizens have the right to vote for senators and representatives through free, confidential ballots. Man. Congress. Congress is composed of two parts. Senate, there are 2 elected senators per state, totaling 100 senators. 2 elected. Okay. A Senate term is 6 years, and there is no limit to the number of terms an individual can serve. Oh.
Dun, 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 dun. And who
and they represent, there's 2 that represent each state. So
who picks them again?
You said what?
Who picks the Senate again?
What do you mean?
How do these
we
members
vote for them? We vote for them.
So who picks them again?
We do. We pick them to represent.
So if you wanted to have say so on the side where laws are created, your best benefit would be to support what side of government again? Heavily?
Your Senate, your legislative.
Which also leads back to your local government?
Yeah.
Because it's modeled after the federal government and works the same way?
Yeah.
And these leaders start from the local level and work their way up through the...
Yeah.
Just taking some notes.
House of Representatives.
Oh, greetings, Indio.
You said what happened?
Oh, Brother Copper Indio just joined us.
Copper!
Hey.
House of Representatives. There are 435 elected representatives, which are divided among the 50 states in proportion to their total population. There are additional non-voting delegates who represent the District of Columbia and the territories. I did not know that.
Yep. They just sit there.
I did not know that. A representative serves a 2-year term, and there is no limit to the number of terms an individual can serve. So while okay. People just sitting in their seats waiting for us, huh?
And that's 2 years, and there's no electoral college to swing an election like they can for the president. I think you need to start doing that head banging intro and outro as a commercial break.
For real, man. Legislative branch agencies. The legislative branch includes Congress and the agencies that support its work. Architect of the Capitol. Congressional Budget Office. Congressional Research Service, Copyright Office, Government Accountability Office, Government Publishing Office, House Office of Inspector General, House Office of the Clerk, Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Library of Congress, Medicaid and CHIP Payment and Access Commissions, Medicare Payment Advisory Commission, Office of Compliance, Open World Leadership Center, Stennis Center for Public Service, U.S. Botanic Garden, U.S. Capitol Police, U.S. Capitol Visitor Center, U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. Senate. Wait, hold on. This said, hold on. The legislative branch includes Congress and the agencies that support its work.
Yep. These are all the agencies of Congress.
Gotcha.
Right. See, and because we tend to get a simplified version of not only history but civics, and that's part of why this is going on now. Because there needs to be clarification. Because people just look at like the executive branch as just the president. They look at the judiciary branch as just the Supreme Court. They look at the legislative as just Congress. It's been simplified to a point where you can learn this in like second or third grade, but they never expand on this in the school system, especially now. And part of why this is significant is those other pieces, those satellite pieces around what we call Congress, are instrumental in not only the laws that get written, but how they get put together. And I think you'll hear more about this coming up.
Gabrielle, you can read that list one more time, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, my bad. I clicked.
No, if you got to click back, let me know and I'll read it all.
Legislative branch includes Congress and the agencies that support its work. Architect of the Capitol, Congressional Budget Office, Congressional Research Service, Copyright Office, Government Accountability Office, Government Publishing Office, House Office of Inspector General, House Office of Clerk, Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Library of Congress, Medicaid and CHIP Payment and Access Commission, Medicaid Payment Advisory Commission, Office of Compliance, Open World Leadership Center, Stennis Center for Public Service, U.S. Botanic Garden, U.S. Capitol Police, U.S. Capitol Visitor Center, U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. Senate.
And all departments of the legislative branch. Well, agencies.
Right.
You should look at Medicaid differently.
Yeah, I'm looking at stuff now. Like, that's what made me click ahead. I clicked on, like, wait a minute. Hold on. Learn something new every day. Appreciate you. Thank you. But yeah, we should be going through this.
What we got next? The executive branch of the U.S. government?
Yep. Executive branch of the U.S. government. The executive branch carries out and enforces laws It includes the president, vice president, the cabinet, executive departments, independent agencies, and other boards, commissions, and committees. American citizens have the right to vote for the president and vice president through free, confidential ballots. Key roles of the executive branch include president. The president leads the country. He or she is the head of state, leader of the federal government, and commander in chief of the United States Armed Forces. The president serves a 4-year term and can be elected no more than 2 times. Vice president. The vice president supports the president. If the president is unable to serve, the vice president becomes president. The vice president can be elected and serve an unlimited number of 4-year terms as vice president, even under a different president.
So technically, you could be vice president forever.
Mm-hmm. The cabinet. Cabinet members serve as advisors to the president. They include the vice president, head of executive departments, and other high-ranking government officials. Cabinet members are nominated by the president and must be approved by a simple majority of the Senate. 51 votes if all 100 senators vote. Executive branch agencies, commissions, and committees. Much of the work in the executive branch is done by federal agencies, departments, committees, and other groups.
You mean not the president?
Nope. Executive Office of the President. The Executive Office of the President communicates the president's message and deals with the federal budget, security, and other high priorities. Office of the President. The Executive Office of the President communicates the president's message and deals with the federal budget, security, and other high priorities. Office of the President, Office of the Vice President, Office of Council
They call it
of
executive office,
Yeah. Council of Economic Advisors, Council on Environmental Quality, National Security Council, Office of Management and Budget, Office of National Drug Control Policy, Office of Science and Technology Policy.
You know them people that be sitting around them at that table?
Mm-hmm. Executive departments. Executive departments, these are the main agencies of the federal government. The heads of these 15 agencies are also members of the president's cabinet. U.S. Department of Agriculture, U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Department of Defense, U.S. Department of Education, U.S. Department of Energy, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. U.S. Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Oh, there's more.
U.S. Department of Justice, U.S. Department of Labor, U.S. Department of State, U.S. Department of Interior, U.S. Department of Treasury, U.S. Department of Transportation, U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. Hold on. This is the executive branch?
So when the president deals with housing or release money for funding, it's really not that hard because it's part of his office already.
Right.
You okay over there, Gabrielle Union?
Yes.
You looking at those nuggets I dropped in the back chat?
Yeah.
So when people say that I'm a sellout, oh, why are you doing this? That now you see how it's all connected. We the people.
I'd like to also add to that that the fact that a lot of people refer to the president as just the president. Again, we're taught at a young age the executive branch is the president of the United States and maybe the vice president and the joint chiefs and so forth, right? But look at how interconnected this is. In order for there to be checks and balances properly on the other two branches, you have to have pieces of one branch interconnected with the other. The vice president is the president of the Senate. He presides over the Senate. When there is a disagreement, or let's say when there is a stalemate on a vote, he casts the deciding vote on whether a bill becomes law. That's not something that's wielded every day, so that's not seen as being as powerful as being a president of the United States. But look at how much of a check that puts over Congress. And in turn, right, then in turn, Congress essentially can make sure that, and we've seen this, they can make sure that a president gets nothing done.
Yep.
So these things are they're not only interconnected, but they're vital to understand, because we spend a lot of time talking about the individual, the private and public individual. But one thing that gets left out of the conversation is, why is it that we all have to deal with the government? Even if you claim to not want to deal with the government, you still have to. You're still using the reserve notes that represent the government to buy food, to pay your rent or your mortgage or things like that. So this is part of how decisions are made in this system.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, being that Congress can ultimately put things at a halt and make things slower for the executive branch, wouldn't that in turn also fall on the responsibility of us because we voted for him?
Yes.
Or didn't.
Or didn't vote for him and they got into office because of lack of participation?
Right. And now see, and that's called enfranchisement. When you are inclined to participate in the voting process. Now, we know one of the things we hear in our community very often is, we don't want a part in what the government's doing. We don't want a part in this. We can't change it. We can't affect it. So we're just not going to play the game.
Right.
Now, but here's the problem: is like we've established with the census, it's mandatory. So even if you choose as a free person to not do it, the government's not going to come to your door and demand that you do it. They'll send you postcards and send you, mail and stuff saying, hey, this is something you got to do. But they're not going to come in and force you at gunpoint to do it. However, in your absence of doing so, and you can see this when you go to court too. You go to court, well, if you don't show up and you have a summons, you don't show up, you get ruled in your absence, right?
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with this, whether it's the census or whether it's anything else in terms of enfranchisement and representation of yourself. If you don't represent yourself, somebody else is going to establish that for you.
You better know.
So come on, Ms. Gabby. These are things to think about as we move forward, but come on with it.
Executive department sub-agencies and bureaus. Small sub-agencies support specialized work within their parent executive department agencies. Administration for Children and Families, Administration for Community Living, Administration for Native Americans, Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry, Agriculture Marketing Service, Agriculture Research Service, Alcohol, Tobacco, Tax and Trade Bureau, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, Antitrust Division, Armed Forces Retirement Home, Arms Control and International Security, Bonneville Power Administration, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Bureau Consular Affairs, Bureau of Economic Analysis, Bureau of Engraving and Printing, Bureau of Indian Affairs, Bureau of Industry and Security, Bureau of International Labor Affairs, Bureau of Justice Statistics, Bureau of Labor Statistics, Bureau of Land Management, Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, Bureau of Prisons, Bureau of Reclamation, Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, Bureau of the Fiscal Service, Bureau of Transportation Statistics, Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, Center for Nutrition Policy and Promotion, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
All executive.
Huh?
No, I was just saying, oh yeah, CDC, executive branch.
Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Service, Civil Rights Division, Department of Justice, Community-Oriented Policy Policing Services, Computer Emergency Readiness Team, Court Services and Offender Supervision Agency for the District of Columbia, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, Defense Acquisition University, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, Defense Commissionary Agency, Defense Contract Audit Agency, Defense Contract Management Agency, Defense Finance and Accounting Service, Defense Finance and Accounting Services Service Debt and Claims Management Center, Defense Health Agency, Defense Information System Agency, Defense Intelligence Agency, Defense Logistics Agency, Defense Security Cooperation Agency, Defense Security Service, Defense Technical Information Center, Defense Threat Reduction Agency, Drug Enforcement Administration, Dwight D. Eisenhower School for National Security and Resource Strategy, Economic Development Administration, Economic Growth, Energy and the Environment, Economic Research Service, Elder Justice Initiative, Employee Benefits Security Administration, Employment and Training Administration, Energy Star Program, English Language Acquisition Office, Executive Office for Immigration Review, Farm Credit System Insurance Corporation, Farm Service Agency, Federal Accounting Standards Advisory Board, Federal Aviation Administration, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Federal Consulting Group, Federal Emergency Management Agency, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, Federal Executive Boards, Federal Highway Administration, Federal Housing Administration, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, Federal Protective Service, Federal Railroad Administration, Federal Student Aid Information Center, Federal Transit Administration, Federal Voting Assistant Program, Fish and Wildlife Service, Food and Drug Administration, Food and Nutrition Service, Food Safety and Inspection Service, Foreign Agriculture Service, Foreign Claims Settlement Commission, Foreign Claims Settlement Commission, Forest Service, Government National Mortgage Association, Ginnie Mae, Grain Inspection, Packers and Stockyards Administration, Health Resource and Service Administration, Holocaust Memorial Museum, Indian Health Service, Information Resource Management College, Innovation and Improvement Office, Institute of Education Sciences, Internal Revenue Service, Internal Trade Administration, Job Corps, Joint Board of Enrollment of Actuaries, Joint Chiefs of Staff, Joint Fire Science Program, Joint Forces Staff College, Joint Program Executive Office for Chemical and Biological Defense, Maritime Administration, Marketing Regulatory Programs, Middle East Broadcasting Networks, Military Postal Service Agency, Mine Safety and Health Administration, Minority Business Development Agency, Missile Defense Agency, Multifamily Housing Office, National Agricultural Statistics Service, National Cemetery Administration, National Defense University, National Flood Insurance Program, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, National Guard, National Health Information Center, National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, National Indian Gaming Commission, National Institute of Arthritis, I know skeletal. I don't know how to put these two words together. And skin disease.
You mean musculoskeletal?
Okay, musculoskeletal. Thank you. And skin disease. National Institute of Corrections, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, National Institute of Justice, National Institute of Mental Health, National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, National Institute of Standards and Technology, National Institute of Health, National Intelligence University, National need help with that word too. Intringency, National Intringency Fire Center, National Laboratories, National Library of Agriculture, National Nuclear Security Administration, National Ocean Service, wow, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, National Park Service, National Passport Information Center, National Pesticide Information Center, National Prevention Information Network, National Reconnaissance Office, National Security Agency, National Technical Information Service, National Telecommunications and Information Administration, National War College. Whoa, I didn't even know that existed. National Weather Service. Oh, but you would need to learn about that. You can't know what you're doing. Okay. National Resource Conservation Service, NOAA Fisheries, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, Occupation Safety and Health Administration, Office for Civil Rights, Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights, Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Career, Technical and Adult Education, Office of Child Support Enforcement, Office of Community Planning and Development, Office of Cuba Broadcasting, Office of Disability Employment Policy, Office of Economic Adjustment, Office of Elementary and Secondary Education, Office of Environmental Management, Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity, Office of Fossil.
Tag whenever you're ready. I know it's a lot. I say whenever you want to switch out, let me know. I'll take over. I know it's a lot.
Okay, I'm in the O's. That I don't think they have anything that begins with Z. So I'm assuming I'm getting close, right? I'm just saying they shouldn't have anything that begins with W, Y, or Z. I'm just saying. Office of, where was I at? Oh, Office
of Environmental Management.
Oh, I was on East. I scrolled down too quick. Okay. Office of Environmental Management, Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity, Office of Fossil Energy, Office of Housing, Office of Immigrant and Employee Rights, Office of Investor Education and Advocacy, Office of Justice Programs, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, Office of Office of Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes, Office of Manufactured Housing Programs, Office of Minority Health, Office of Natural Resources Revenue, Office of Nuclear Energy, Office of Policy Development and Research, Office of Post-Secondary Education, Office of Refugee Resettlement, Office of Scientific and Technical Information, Office of Service Member Affairs, Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services, Office of Surface Mining, Reclaiming and Enforcement. Interesting. Office of the Assistant Secretary for Research and Technology, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, Office of the Federal Register, Office of the Pardon Attorney, Office of Violence Against Women, Pentagon Force Protection Agency, Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, Political Affairs, Power Administrations, President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. What? Pretrial Services Agency for the District of Columbia, Prisoner of War and Missing in Action Accounting Agency, Public and Indian Housing.
Say what?
Public Diplomacy and Public Affairs, Radio Free Asia. What? Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty. Rehabilitation Services Administration, Risk Management Agency, Rural Business and Cooperative Programs, Rural Development, Rural Housing Service, Rural Utilities Service, St. Lawrence Seaway Development Corporation, Science Office, Seafood Inspection Program, Secret Service, Southeastern Power Administration, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, Taxpayer Advocacy Panel, Transportation Security Administration, U.S. Ability One Commission, U.S. Access Board, U.S. Air Force Reserve Command, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Census Bureau, U.S. Central Command, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Commission in International Religious Freedom, U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. Okay. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Election Assistance Commission, U.S. European Command, U.S. Fire Administration, U.S. Fleet Forces Command, U.S. Geological Survey. Okay. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Marshal Service, U.S. Military Academy West Point, U.S. Mint, U.S. Mission to the United Nations, U.S. Mission to the United Nations, U.S. Mission to the U.S. National Central Bureau, Interpol, U.S. Navy, U.S. Northern Command, U.S. Pacific Command, U.S. Parole Commission, U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, U.S. Postal Inspection Service, U.S. Southern Command, U.S. Special Operations Command, U.S. Strategic Command, U.S. Transportation Command, U.S. Trustee Program, Unified Combatant Commands, Uniformed Services, University of the Health Sciences, USA Gov.
Yeah, USA.gov. Mm-hmm.
Okay. USA.gov. Veteran Benefits Administration, Veterans Health Administration, Veterans Employment and Training Services, Voice of America, Wage and Hour Division, Washington Headquarters Services, Weights and Measures Division. What? Western Area Power Administration, Women's Bureau. Hold on.
Now, Have ever known these are sub-agencies of the executive branch.
Right.
Now, do you understand why the defense budget can keep going up? Because it's part of the president's party anyway.
Yeah.
But look at a lot of your grant programs. It's part of the executive branch.
Right. Excuse me, I didn't mean to cough in the microphone. Man. All those subcategories are part of the executive branch.
Mm-hmm. From FSA, USDA, housing, PIH. Your rural utilities.
So, seeing that all those categories fall under the subcategories are still part of the executive branch, we should be digging in our Congress people's behind, because that's a lot. Okay, maybe I used the wrong reference. My bad.
No, you good. No, you good. But I want you to notice something. No, I'm not gonna say it. I yield myself. I take my own mic.
I see a couple of them agencies that people tell you to send some of that funny paperwork to on the executive branch side.
This is correct. This is correct.
See, I wasn't gonna say it.
Oh, go ahead, Brother James.
No, I said I wasn't gonna say it. You said I would. That's why I muted myself.
So now think about it. Now you see how this can be considered paper terrorism when you fill out them actual government forms that have been docketed and you're sending them in to subdivisions of the executive branch. Send that letter to the president of branches if you want to.
Right. And it's not that they're going to just see it and see that it looks like something that they recognize and just gloss over it. No, they're going to know that it's not an official document. For anybody thinking that they can just send something in and it won't get acknowledged or it won't get verified, because it will.
Oh, best believe it's verified and shelved.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm channeling my inner Gabrielle Union tonight. Did Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King ever testify before Congress dealing with civil rights?
Ooh.
The answer to that would be a resounding no, because he knew,
right,
as of 1957, that falls under the executive branch. That is why he had the ear of President Kennedy and President LBJ.
Tell it like this.
He understood. Why do you think the guy that we know as Jesus now, when he was talking about, I'm not saying that he's not off kilter, I'm not saying that at all. Something to deal with somebody who he's attached to. But he was dealing with what? Prison reform. Did he go before Congress or did he go to the White House?
To the White House, because that's the executive branch.
You got to know what falls under what. Again, I thought I saw something about public Indian housing.
Yep.
Because isn't the Secretary of HUD, doesn't that fall under his cabinet? The cabinet is not just a place where you put your china. There's a reason why. And what they are, and being former military, your president is also the commander in chief. You got to know who to talk to. So when you go to talk to certain people about certain issues and they ignore you, they know that you don't know what you're talking about. That's why you're not being paying attention to. Think about that.
Take your argument to the wrong people. They can hear you all day, but they can't do nothing for you. Wrong department.
Because Congress is saying, with civil rights issue, Congress is saying, hey, I'm you and you're me, so why are you arguing with yourself?
Facts.
So if you don't like the way things are going, you have an opportunity to run for office. And it is real easy to run for U.S. Congress as a representative. It doesn't take very many people because that many people don't vote. And find out what district you live in, and you get up in there. Y'all better go again and watch Distinguished Gentlemen. I gave everybody homework before. Go watch Jeff Johnson. See how he did it. I yield the mic.
Brother James, I got a year to go.
I'm telling you. Woo!
They're around here playing. No.
This floor goes all the way to the top.
I don't know civics, and I'm not finna use it. You still with us, Gabrielle?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, that sound like you done found something.
No, I clicked on a couple of the links dealing, okay.
Talk about it.
Indian Health Services. The parent department to that is Department of Health and Human Services. Indian Housing, the parent company to that is Department of Housing and Urban Development. I'm thinking. I'm really
because
thinking.
we're classified as what now? Not only American Indian, but aren't we urban? See, people. This right here, civics. You can't skip. We just can't do it. You just can't do it. This is really going to take about a year to start breaking stuff down, literally, and finding out who's who and what's what. Because everybody's running to somewhere because it's popular. And again, they're not going to listen to you because they know you don't know what you're talking about because you're talking to the wrong people.
Right.
Don't talk to the plumber about your telephone line. Come on, son. I yield the mic.
And if you do, don't get mad when he hand you a plunger.
Right.
Or when he laughs you out of his office. Remember when the American descendants of slaves started to try to bring that up in Congress and they got laughed at by the Black Caucus now?
Yeah, because they was taking that argument to the wrong department. You arguing with yourself to go to Congress.
Right.
You are Congress.
Exactly. What does Congress have to do with the Freedmen's Bureau? What do they got to do with how that was handled? That was the claim people were making, right? Nothing. Not a thing, like you said, Bone. So if you're not talking to the right people, you're not going to get anywhere. And a lot of people get frustrated, and understandably so. But maybe it's time to step back and reassess who we're talking to and about what, and if we're talking to the right people. We can't just say, I'm frustrated because I'm not getting the results I want, so I'm just going to try something completely different. Understand where the mistake is. Understand where the communication breakdown is. Then you can fix it.
Back, someone called me in the middle.
All right, welcome.
Yeah, but like I was saying, civics is very important. And it is something that this won't be the only time we'll go through it. We're going to come back and start breaking down parts so people can have a better understanding. Because once you understand how things work, then again, you know where to go when you need to get things done.
Right.
You still got the independent agencies for the executive branch.
All right, independent agencies. These agencies are not represented in the cabinet and are not part of the executive office of the president. They deal with government operations, the economy, and regulatory oversight. Administrative Conference of the United States. African Development Foundation.
You know I stuck a pin in that one, right?
Central Intelligence Agency. Commission on Civil Rights. Commission on Presidential Scholars. Commission on Security and Cooperations in Europe. Helsinki Commission. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Consumer Product Safety Commission. Corporation for National and Community Service. Defense Nuclear Facilities Safety Board. Denali Commission. Environmental Protection Agency. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Export-Import Bank of the United States. Farm Credit Administration. Federal Communications Commission. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Federal Elections Commission. Federal Housing Finance Agency. Federal Labor Relations Authority. Federal Maritime Commission. Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service. Federal Mine Safety and Health Review Commission. Federal Reserve System. Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board. Federal Trade Commission. General Services Administration. Indoor Air Quality Institute of Museum and Library Services. Inter-American Foundation. Excuse me. Merit Systems Protection Board. Millennium Challenge Corporation. National Aeronautics and Space Administration. National Archives and Records Administration. National Capital Planning Commission. National Credit Union Administration. National Endowment for the Arts. National Endowment for the Humanities. National Labor Relations Board. National Mediation Board. National Railroad Passenger Corporation. National Science Foundation. National Transportation Safety Board. Occupational Safety and Health Review Commission. Office of Government Ethics. Office of Personal Management. Office of Special Counsel. Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Overseas Private Investment Corporation. Peace Corps. Pension Benefit. I need help with that word. Guarantee. Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation. Postal Regulatory Commission. Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, Railroad Retirement Board.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Guarantee.
Oh, guarantee. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation. Thank you. Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, Railroad Retirement Board, Securities and Exchange Commission, Selective Service System, Small Business Administration, Social Security Administration, Service Transportation Board, Tennessee Valley Authority, U.S. Agency for Global Media, U.S. Agency for International Development, U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, U.S. International Trade Commission, U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, U.S. Postal Service, U.S. Trade and Development Agency. And these agencies are not represented in the cabinet. They're independent. Okay.
But they directly report to who?
Executive branch.
Which is why I heard something, a couple of things in there that Cav Grand Rising Show has been talking about. A couple of these agencies that people are utilizing and actually receiving funding for. Because they're talking to the right people. Because they understand that we, the people, we are the people. I know SBA is one of those, wasn't it?
Yeah.
USDA, something like that. Okay. All right. I yield the mic. I yield myself.
As of right now, up to 28 SBA loans to the community. They work.
Wait a minute. You said a 2 in the 10th place and an 8 in the 1th place.
Yes.
Not 2.8.
Nope.
Not 2.
Not 2. No.
Not 8. But 2 in the because I've been working with my little one. The 2 and the you know, like the one that got the long set of blocks that go.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then the 8 little blocks, because it's almost supposed to be it's like 2 blocks that go all the way up. Those long blocks that you put on top of each other to make the long block, one long rectangle, upright rectangle. 8. You got 8 little blocks to the side, almost about to be a 3rd upright rectangle with all those little blocks. Is that what you said? That's what you're saying?
Yep, correct.
Okay, so I gotta take my shoes off and get somebody else's hands in order to get 28, right? Because I got 10 fingers and then I got 10 toes, right? So that give me the 20, but I need to borrow somebody else.
At the rate it's going, by the end of the week, we might need a couple more bodies to do the math equation.
And just out of curiosity, has anyone that you dealt out of 28 personally, has anyone ever got a response out of any of these agencies with the reply me email of ha 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 ha? Did they ever get that response from these agencies?
Not one. Everyone followed their plan step by step through the SBA and came back with the results.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure it out. Man, we the people. Okay, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm back again. I apologize. It's after hours. You put a pin in something. Can we go back to that pin right quick, please?
Oh, yes.
The website.
Look at you. What you doing over there, Gabrielle Union? One thing's for sure, you cannot be the student that's in the class that the teacher picks for the middle person to read. You have to be the first person to read because you already 20 pages ahead of everybody else. So when she calls on you to read, you're like, oh, I'm finished with the book, teacher. That's you right there.
African Development Foundation. I'm like,
They currently support across 21 countries of operation. Okay.
In what countries would those be, please?
Let me download this fact sheet.
And while you do that, it says the African Development Foundation. The African Development Foundation provides grants to community groups and small enterprises that benefit underserved, marginalized groups in Africa. I don't see no American after the Africa, y'all. Yeah, that's a misprint.
No, they did
Those
not use
countries.
Go ahead. You asked this Gabrielle Union because oh man, this is gonna get good right here. I'm sorry. This is gonna get real.
So those countries that are supported are in two select areas. They're highlighted in a dark blue. Benin, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Guinea, Kenya, Liberia, Malawi, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Nigeria, Rwanda, Senegal, Somalia, South Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Looks like 23 to me.
You know, that's why I said it's gonna get real good. You need to stop the presses. Stop the presses.
It looks like 23 and me.
All of these countries that they say you are from, y'all are not following the breadcrumbs
on the screen. I hope they're looking at that map.
People everywhere. Hope you pay attention. In the chat, please go get your granny. Hug your granny and bring the granny to your computer screen right now. Right now. RAT now. Do it now. We're going to give you an opportunity now. We're going to take a pause right here so you can go get your grannies. Because they've been telling you all this time, I'm not from no cotton picking Africa. But Granny, I'm getting and you don't know, and 23andMe, and everybody's telling me. It's not a coincidence. It is not a coincidence. Know who you dealing with and know who you are. Come on, son. I'm gonna take this pause right here and I'll be back right after these messages. Anybody still home?
Mm-hmm. It's pretty interesting that these are the only areas that they're focusing on.
The same places that Skip Gates, Henry Louis Gates Jr. told you. When they told you they were manipulating your DNA test. If they get 5 American Indians that look like the people that are on this panel and in this chat, and say that you are from these lands, then everybody else that's an American Indian is going to come up with those same results in those same countries over and over and over. Oh, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm from Benin. This is where I'm from. Oh, I'm from Congo. The same ones over and over and over. When you know who you are, you can make that trip to DC and make the declaration, but make sure you're talking to the right person. Because again, you don't have to like them, but the one that's in the White House, he knows who we are. That's why he's reinstating Indian tribes in Virginia, already done.
That's right. Didn't they go talk to him? Didn't them tribes go talk to him?
And he totally went over the BIA. They said, the BIA, you moving too slow. We're going to talk to the press. He superseded the BIA.
Yeah, last I remember, they answer to him. Last I remember.
Yes, they do. Again, what do you see on all the cartoons and all the 1950s Martian alien show? The first thing when they land, what do they say? Take me to your leader. I don't want to talk to anybody else. Take me to your leader. I'm not dealing with you because I know you're not doing right. I know you're nobody. Take me to your leader. Come on, son. Y'all, I hope y'all paying attention. I hope y'all take this snippet. For anybody else, I'm not knocking those. If you African, be the best African that you can be. But you better know, without a shadow of a doubt, that you African. Because when you get over there, you thought you getting treated bad over here, you ain't seen nothing yet. Because they know, without a shadow of a doubt, you're not them, and they're not you. Come on, son. I yield the mic.
You know what's very interesting as well, Gabrielle? You notice where they're not at?
Mm-hmm.
I can't see the YouTube chat. Is that still on the screen? Because is that map?
Yeah, I got it up there.
I like the colorization map. You know, with all the nice little bright colors. So you don't even have to read. Just know your colors. That's all. Just know your primary colors. And take a screenshot of that map and make that map your icon for the next month. That's all you gotta do. That speaks volumes. When you're on Facebook, use that. Or say you like to do the little story on Facebook, just play that snippet right there on your Facebook page. It's gonna put our heads to bed. You think about it.
Because I don't know about y'all, I'd be colonies.
Go back and look at that ACS again. The American. Go ahead, look at it.
I remember the race for Africa. Them lines look carved up like about the same.
This was established in 2002.
Now you're getting it. This was in response to everyone who wanted to be African American. So they're responding to what you want to be called.
Yeah, this is coming
and
out
what
of
you
the
want to
90s.
be. And now they have you emotionally attached to a people in a land that's not even yours. I guarantee you, everybody's got play brothers and play cousins. But when it come down to time doing your income tax, your mama can't claim them. You're not my brother.
This was an act that was. Listen,
let it go. Put it out there. Put it out there. It's all factual. Let it go. Let it go. Put it out there.
Okay. Here's this wasn't just one act. There were several acts from 2000.
Brother James told you they gave you what you wanted. You was rocking them medallions. We were cheering. Fight the power. This and that. They gave us what we wanted. You're looking at it on the screen.
Yeah.
I'm bliggity black, y'all.
Oh man, for real. What you going to college up under?
And also for those of you that keep up with current events, wasn't that long ago that President Trump was asking the so-called African American what they wanted to be called? You want to be called black or you want to be called African American?
Black for Trump. Black for Trump.
Yep. So you get the government that you deserve, not necessarily the government that you want. And if you decide that's what you want the government to identify you as, that's what you're going to be called. Remember, we have a part to play in this too. We keep talking about how we were reclassified and we were changed and this and that, but at some level, we have to take ownership of how we go into the future like this.
Oh my goodness, what are you establishing your business under?
Mm-hmm.
This is specifically USDF is an independent U.S. government agency established to support and invest in African-owned and led enterprises that improve the lives and livelihoods of people in poorer communities in Africa. But if you're here, it also benefits you too if you're African American. Just saying.
But hold on, you're missing something. If you're actual African American, that ties back to one of these regions. The so-called African American ain't tying back to. Better be careful. Again, you can claim whatever you want to be, but when it's time to prove it.
Yeah.
In one of those countries you mentioned, Nigeria. Can someone, I know this is real time and I apologize, but could someone look up the president of Nigeria? Why are we doing that? Because everyone's talking about Russia being involved in US politics and all of that, and we never look at the relationship between US politics and Nigeria.
Muhammadu Mahiri.
You want to know where he went to school? That National War College.
Yes, he did.
What are you doing at National War College? Come on, son. In the United States? Of what? Of America.
I'm sorry. So his ideology is what, y'all?
And find out the role that Nigeria plays in the U.S. elections. I need but no sell out here. Of what? And all the while telling you, oh, brother, you need to come back home. Oh, we apologize. And I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend any Nigerians. I'm sorry. People can talk about my southern accent and my twang and all the rest of that too. But brother, come back home. You are home. Come on, son.
That's right. And as I said before, if you don't represent yourself when asked by the government, someone else will speak for you. And they don't care whether you like it or not. They don't care if it gets you out of things you're entitled to. They don't care if it puts you on a worse economic or social footing than you were before. You better take responsibility for yourself and stop trying to duck and dodge whenever the government asks you to state who you are. Because they're not doing it just to control you. Yeah, the government needs to control. That's what the word government means, is to control. But the problem is, the government can't be on the up and up with you at all if you don't do what every citizen, because even those that claim to be sovereign are still citizens, right? You can't operate as a citizen if you letting somebody else dictate who you are. This is how you become an underclass. But instead of having these conversations where they need to be had, instead of talking to the people we need to be talking to, like we just mentioned, we doing the equivalent of arguing with the cops over whether or not I should be arrested while they arrested me. That's the conversation I had with the judge, not the cop arresting you. And that's why they tell you anything you say can be used against you.
Excuse me, I got a question.
Come on. Mm-hmm.
When was the Civil War?
The Civil
1861
War,
to 1865.
right.
April to April.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, give me the year again.
1861 to 1865.
Okay, when was World War I and World War II?
That was what, 1914?
Yeah,
I want to say
World War II is what, 42?
Yeah.
What you doing over there, Sister Gabrielle Union?
Let me guess. You tying them when they started forming some of them new African nations over there with these wars real quick?
And here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, okay. I feel like I'm not reading this right. I feel like I'm.
Remember, what you know as them countries over there in the place they call Africa today was carved up and created just like America is.
So from he has a master's degree, attended U.S. Army War College in Pennsylvania, and gained a master's degree in strategic strategies. Upon completion of the on-campus full-time resident program lasting 10 months and the 2-year-long distance learning program, the United States Army War College, USAWC College awards its graduates officers a master's degree in strategic studies.
Like I said again, what is his ideology going to be?
I'm sorry, this was from 1978 to 1980.
Again, what's his ideology going to be? You grew up here, you went to school here, you happen to have certain ties there, so they put you over there and somehow you're the president now. But them policies are in favor for who?
In the interest of the same person, the same place this person was educated, and given platform to become president over there.
So while you're too busy packing up, running away from your homeland, thinking you running over there to be safe.
Before attending before attending this military school and receiving his master's in 1966, he was the Nigerian counter coup.
Already working for the U.S.
Yeah, took part in the July counter coup, which ousted General Aguiyi Ironsi, sorry if I'm botching the name up, replacing him with General Yakubu Gowon. This is before going to military school, going to the Army Academy in 78.
You gotta ask yourself this: do you really think a foreigner gonna come over here and get that type of access to military training? I mean, we don't have to go too much deep in it, but let's just think for a second.
I get what you're saying.
What would be the U.S. interest in investing this time? Keep running over there. They need a labor force.
What's indiscipline?
You say indiscipline?
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how it's used in the senses. I would have to know how it's used.
One of the most enduring legacies of him has been the war against indiscipline. Launched March 20th, 1984, the policy tried to address the perceived lack of public morality and civic responsibility of Nigerian society.
Undisciplined people.
Right.
His
Get it.
eyes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. 23andMe, I'm good.
Again, what you call African nations, if you do research, some colonies.
Mm-hmm.
See what civics took us? Ain't that something?
Mm-hmm. My bad. Okay, yeah, I ain't clicked and about to read this man's whole life.
But that's where you have to act. This, how much out? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you good, brother. I was just making sure she didn't fall off her porch over there.
I was just saying, how much of an outsider is the individual again if the U.S. invests all this time in training in them? I mean, they don't take a rocket scientist to see what this is. You all right over there, Gabrielle? We lost you?
No, I mean, yes, I'm fine. Yes. No, you didn't lose me. My bad. I'm going back. Oh no. What does Double Cousin say? Who is your daddy and what does he do?
I think we on what, boards and commissions and committees?
Yes. Boards, commissions, and committees. Congress or the president established these smaller organizations to manage specific tasks and areas that don't fall under parent agencies. Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, American Battle Monuments Commission, Appalachian Regional Commission, Barry M. Goldwater Scholarship and Excellence in Education Program, Citizen Stamp Advisory Committee, Committee for Implementation of Textile Agreements, Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, Coordinating Council of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, Council of the Inspector General on Integrity and Efficiency, Delaware River Basin Commission, Delta Regional Authority, Endangered Species Program, Federal Financial Institutions Examination Council, Federal Financing Bank, Federal Geographic Data Committee, Federal help me. Federal Interagency Committee on Education.
Yeah, it's interagency.
There you go. Thank you. Definitely can't see straight now. Federal Interagency Council on Statistical Policy. Federal Laboratory Consortium for Technology Transfer. Federal Library and Information Center Committee. Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board. Harry S. Truman Scholarship Foundation. Indian Arts and Crafts Board. What? Nope. Interagency Alternative. Nope. Yeah, Alternative Dispute Resolution Working Group. Interagency Committee for the Management of Noxious and Exotic Weeds. Okay. Interagency Council of Homelessness. James Madison Memorial Fellowship Foundation. Japan United States Friendship Commission. Okay. Marine Mammal Commission. Migratory Bird Conservation Commission. Mississippi River Commission. Morris K. Udall and Stuart L. Udall Foundation. National Council on Disability. Excuse me. National Park Foundation. Northern Border Regional Commission. Northwest Power and Conservation Council. Nuclear Waste Technical Review Board. Presidio Trust. Social Security Advisory Board. Susquehanna River Basin Commission. U.S. Arctic Research Commission. U.S. Chemical Safety Board. U.S. Commission of Fine Arts. Veterans Day National Committee.
Well, the executive side is big, huh? What we got left in the executive? Quasi-official agencies?
My bad. Had a doorbell.
No problem.
But yeah, yes, the executive branch is big, has a lot of departments. A lot. Oh, Indian Arts and Crafts Board. It's the Siouan Indian Museum, Museum of the Plains Indian, Southern Plains Indian Museum. Huh. Okay. Quasi-official agencies. Although they're not officially part of the executive branch, these agencies are required by federal statute to release certain information about their programs and activities in the Federal Register, the Daily Journal of Government Activities. Center for Parent Information and Resources, Federal Home Loan Mortgage Company, Freddie Mac, Federal National Mortgage Association, Fannie Mae, Institute of Peace, John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, Legal Services Corporation, National Constitution Center, National Gallery of Art, Smithsonian Institute, State Justice Institute, Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars.
And that's just the end of the executive branch. I'm like, woo.
Well, let's hit up that judicial branch real quick.
Uh-oh.
Judicial branch of the United States. The judicial branch interprets the meaning of laws, applies laws to individual cases, and decides if laws violate the Constitution. It is comprised of the Supreme Court and other federal Wait, hold on. Gotta go back. My bad. Just thought of something. Smithsonian Institute is under this, right? And it says, although they are not officially part of the executive branch, these agencies are required by federal statute to release certain information about their programs and activities in the Federal Register, the Daily Journal of Government Activities.
Mm-hmm. You know, like
Smithsonian.
finding certain digs and stuff that don't make the magazines. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking, my bad. I'm back to judicial. I'm just saying, okay. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, what you mean? There's records? Yeah, there's records.
Okay, hold on. National Gallery of Art. National Gallery of Art collects, preserves, and exhibits artworks and works to promote the understanding of art through research and educational programs. That means, hold on. Come on now. These quasi-official agencies have very unique responsibilities. Legal Services Corporation. Legal Services Corporation is an independent corporation founded by Congress that provides grant funds, training, and technical assistance to civil legal aid programs. The corporation ensures low-income individuals and families have access to quality legal aid.
Start looking at things differently. What you see, once you can see what they're designed for.
Yeah.
How many people look at the government in a negative light once you see what is attached to it?
Right.
And again, all these programs are on the executive side.
Right.
People just think of the president and vice president.
Correct. National Constitution Center. The National Constitution Center is a state-of-the-art museum dedicated to the study of the U.S. Constitution. The museum is also a national hub for constitutional education and outreach. You know what? I'm going to judicial. I'm sorry. My bad. The judicial branch interprets the meaning of laws, applies laws to individual cases, and decides if laws violate the Constitution. It is comprised of the Supreme Court and other federal courts. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States. The justices of the Supreme Court are nominated by the president and must be approved by the Senate. 9 members make up the Supreme Court, a Chief Justice and 8 Associate Justices. There must be a minimum or quorum of 6 justices to decide a case. If there is an even number of justices and a case results in a tie, the lower court's decision stands. There is no fixed term for justices. They serve until their death, retirement, or removal in exceptional circumstances.
Say what? Come again?
I'm sorry. Can you give me a minute, please? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. next part is federal courts and judicial agencies. The Constitution gives Congress the authority to establish other federal courts to handle cases that involve federal laws, including tax and bankruptcy, lawsuits involving the U.S. and state governments or the Constitution, and more. Other federal judicial agencies and programs support the courts and research judicial policy. We have the Administrative Office of the U.S. Courts, Bankruptcy Courts, Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces, Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, Court of Federal Claims, Court of International Trade, Federal Court Interpreters, Federal Judicial Center, Judicial Plane of Multi-District Litigation, Supreme Court of the United States, Tax Court, U.S. Court of Appeals for Veteran Claims, U.S. Court of Appeals, and U.S. Sentencing Commission. It states confirmation process for judges and justices. Appointments for Supreme Court justices and other federal judgeships follow the same basic process. The president nominates a person to fill a vacant judgeship. The Senate Judiciary Committee holds a hearing on the nominee and votes on whether to forward the nomination to the full Senate. If the nomination moves forward, the Senate can debate the nomination. Debate must end before the Senate can vote on whether to confirm the nominee. A senator will request unanimous consent to end the debate, but any senator can refuse. Without unanimous consent, the Senate must pass a couture motion to end the debate. It takes a simple majority of votes, 51 if all 100 senators vote, to pass couture and end debate about a federal judicial nominee. Once the debate ends, the Senate votes on confirmation. The nominee for Supreme Court or any other federal judgeship needs a simple majority of votes, 51 if all 100 senators vote, to be confirmed. Then they have an infograph on how the Supreme Court works, and also a PDF for more information. It says Supreme Court is the highest court in the country, located in Washington, D.C., the head of the judicial branch of the federal government, responsible for deciding whether laws violate the Constitution, in session from early October until late June or early July. It states how a case gets to Supreme. Sorry about that. It says how a case gets to Supreme Court. Most cases reach the court on appeal. An appeal is a request for a higher court to reverse the decision of a lower court. Most appeals come from federal courts. They can come from state courts if a case deals with federal law. Rarely the court hears a new case, such as one between states. It shows the steps and dissatisfied parties petition the court for review. Parties may appeal their case to the Supreme Court, petitioning the court to review the decision of the lower court. 2, justices study documents. The justices examine the petition and supporting materials. And 3, justices vote. 4 justices must vote in favor for a case to be granted review. Next, what happens once a case is selected for review? First, parties make arguments. The justice review the briefs, written arguments, and hear oral arguments. In oral arguments, each side usually has 30 minutes to present its case. The justices typically ask many questions during this time. 2, justices write opinions. The justices vote on the case and write their opinions. The majority opinion shared by more than half of the justices becomes the court decision. Justices who disagree with the majority opinion write dissertations or minority opinions. The court issues its decision. Justices may change their vote after reading first drafts of the opinions. Once the opinions are completed and all of the justices have cast a final vote, the court hands down its decision. All cases are heard and decided before summer recess. It can take up to 9 months to announce a decision. It states each year, every year the court reviews 7,000 to 8,000 requests for review and grants 70 to 80 for oral argument. Other requests are granted and decided without argument. It goes into detail about the justices. There are 9 justices, a chief justice who sits in the middle and is the head of the judicial branch, 8 associate justices. When a new chief justice is needed, the president nominates a candidate, usually a federal judge. The Senate votes to confirm the nominee. The court can continue deciding cases with less than 9 justices. But if there's a tie, the lower court's decision stands. And again, justices are appointed for life, though they may resign or retire. They serve an average of 16 years. And that's basically breaking down the 3 parts of basically the 3 branches of government. Any more insight or thoughts from the panel?
This actually hits home quite a bit because I think, if I remember correctly, USA Today just put an article up saying that Justice Ginsburg has been hospitalized with, what does she have? Gallbladder infection. She's 87. And like the article says, that they're there for life, but they tend to only serve so long. So that's why there's usually a really what's the word I'm looking for? A really heated debate over whether or not to appoint certain people as justices, because they're there. They're there across several different presidents usually.
Mm-hmm. And then again, it shows you basically how the government actually works, the responsibility of the 3 branches. And a lot of departments that fall up under the 3 branches. Like we started earlier, most people hear executive and they think president and vice president, not realizing there's 100 different categories. And then, and by understanding how it works, it's the same thing locally. Because your local governments and state governments, they just copy the same system. It's ran the same way. But then you have to ask the question too, when people are complaining about acts and laws and situations, but then don't participate in the legislative part of it, what are you really complaining for then?
And also, with that point, I think there is some confusion as to where federal jurisdiction ends and state jurisdiction begins, because a lot of people have been using tools that are at people's disposal in some cases, and some that are just kind of dreamt up, and others to get out of issues with the legal system at the state and local level. But what that does is, as we mentioned, that gets a review and that gets an investigation started at the federal level. And this is the part we're talking about. This is what happens when a claim or dispute goes to the federal level. And you have a circuit, and you have judges and justices that are operating at the federal level, but this is the top of it. This is the biggest piece of it. How many people, while they talk about how to get out of traffic tickets and how to get out of being busted for growing and smoking weed and silly stuff, but how many people know anything about this? How many people know what happens when you got a legitimate case against a government entity or the government itself, and it goes all the way up to the highest court in the land? Once things get to this point, most people just kind of sit back and just wait for the court's findings. But when you study this, you begin to see how all of this actually works. And then when you have a court ruling, you do understand the other parts of the government get activated. Because if the court decides this is the way the law is interpreted, now the executive has to enforce that. And if there's an issue with the court's interpretation, Congress has to go back and probably clarify some of the language in the law, or has to revise whatever stipulations in a new law that can still be seen as constitutional. So this is how all three of these groups work together. And again, it's far beyond trying to get out of possession of something, of a firearm or drugs or whatever have you, or trying to get out of a speeding ticket, which you often hear people cite as understanding law. And remember, there's federal law, like what we're talking about, and then there's state and local law, and they could be diametrically opposed. Because the U.S. Constitution isn't going to be written or interpreted the same way as a state's constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the federal government can only deal with things that are of the federal government. If you start doing things as far as interstate commerce, now the federal government's involved. But if you within your state, you're in the jurisdiction of the state, unless there's something that justifies it as an issue for the federal government. Most people don't know the difference there. But this is where you start to understand the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I had to play doctor real quick.
Oh, no problem. But then again, it shows how a lot of people can get jammed up just by going over a lot of these departments. And like we said, a lot of these departments are the names that they tell you to send a lot of this bogus paperwork to. And by knowing what side of the government these branches are on, you can see how you get jammed up. You can see the dangers of it now. You can see why they look at it the way they look at it now. You ain't jamming up any office of the land with paperwork. You're jamming up the president's office and all the subcommittees with this foolish paperwork.
And again, who's been able to make these kinds of claims against the federal government and win, and have the president side with them, or have whatever entity, Congress or whoever, side with them? I mean, the thing that's important about the judicial branch is precedent. When has this come up for debate before? When has there been a disagreement over the interpretation of this issue? What precedent was set? So we got to start asking people in our community when we end up getting claims of how you can get out of this and that and the other. Where's the precedent? Where has this happened before?
Facts.
You know, that is a really valid question, extremely valid question. That
It goes hand in hand with law. You can't have it without it.
Yeah.
Something had to take place prior to.
And if it has, since court rulings are public record, it should be able to be recovered. The receipts are there.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer or claim to be a pro, but I would know this much. If it happened before, that's the case that you would cite in your case. I know that much.
Exactly. Hence precedent. This preceded the current issue, but is related to it and subject.
I know when they sentence you, they do the same thing. I'm just saying. Don't they go back to the book and be like, oh no, this is an unprecedented sentence and all the guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm like, come on, man.
All right. So maybe it's time to hold some people in our community. Again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody or nothing, but maybe we should start, when we get these claims of you can do this, that, and the other, and you can just claim a designation or a status by some declaration. When you hear this kind of stuff, take people at their word, but verify. President Reagan used to have a saying: "Trust but verify." Like, okay, well, you sound like you make some sense. Okay, I'll entertain what you say, but I'm gonna make sure that what you're saying is sound. Because if I'm telling you the truth, it should be able to pass the test of scrutiny. We're not saying don't believe people. We're just saying if you get information, like with anything else you get on the internet or anywhere else, you get information, you got to verify it. And if somebody's telling you anything that has to do with law or anything that's subject to legality, there's a precedent for it. There's a case where somebody won on these grounds. And if that's the case, so be it. But if somebody's telling you can do this, that, and the other, and all you're going on is their word, I done it. Okay, well, show me the precedent. That too much to add? That's not asking for, anybody's personal identifiable information. That's not asking for somebody's name and somebody's,
But you should have it anyway, because you would have needed it in your own court case.
Precisely.
Yeah, that on Rolodex file.
And to show you how deep this goes, if you did it before, you cited precedent, like Bone said. So you don't even have to use your own case. You can use this case that was cited as precedent to prove that point. And many of these cases go back, in some cases, a couple hundred years at this point. So, again, not saying you don't trust for certain people based on what they're talking about, but verify what you're hearing. Scrutinize it. Anybody telling you the truth should be okay with that scrutiny, because if they're telling you the truth, it should survive said scrutiny.
And if you can't cite a case that can be fold, that's telling you all you need to know right there. Case closed. Don't even listen no more. Walk away. It's not even worth it, even if it's free.
Yep.
But that's why we say again, civics is very important. Because by understanding again how government work on all levels, it gives you, the individual, a better understanding of what powers you do have. I shouldn't have read that. You said the precedent they used was Batman versus Superman, y'all. I mean, it'll help you understand how to maneuver. It lets you understand what powers you do have, what responsibilities you have, because it is a responsibility. Because again, when we don't know this information, when we as a community don't know, I'm not talking to one or two who do, I'm talking about as a community. When we don't know this basic information, do you see how dangerous it is? Can you see why some of the conditions that we have? That a lot of the arguments and fights that we've been hearing for over the last 40, 50 years, the reason why they fall on deaf ears because you're taking it to the wrong door. I mean, this is something to where we should make sure that we reteach ourselves is civics, and make sure that we teach this in our households. Because the more of us who know, it cuts down that opportunity and the chances that somebody can come across with some misinformed information, pass it on, and the next thing you know, you jammed up, because we made sure that we were well informed on how this works. And we understand the part that we play in this. And we understand by us participating, by us building our institutions, by us rebuilding our communities, using our voices, putting ourselves in these seats, electing our own like-minded and sending them to the Senate and Congress. So therefore, we can start getting things on that side. And then at the same time, we work through the executive branches and take the issues directly to where they need to be. I mean, the best thing somebody ever told me in business was that if you know where you want to go, and excuse my language on this one, why the hell are you throwing darts at the map blindfolded? Walk up to the map and put the dart where you want to go. Everything we need to know is already around us. It's here. We don't have to reinvent nothing. All we got to do is realize, yes, in life you fall down, but just because you fall down don't mean we stay down. We look at each other, we smile, we learn from this, dust ourselves off, and let's get this done again. You trying to tell me everybody else can come to the home of the American Indian and learn civics on our homeland, and we still don't know it? Use the programs on our homeland, and we still don't know it? I mean, if we saying that's what it is, then maybe we don't deserve it. I mean, real talk. It's time for us to get the hell out of our way and get this done. One community at a time. We will accomplish this. I don't care if we have to come on for 2-3 hours every evening and go through a part of civics. If that's what it's going to take for us to get this down packed, then so be it. But I know one thing, we can't allow things to remain the same way how it's been before. I refuse to pass off the foolishness that I had to go through on to my children or anyone in their generation. I mean, what's the sense of being a proud Indian if you're not willing to leave something behind? I mean, wasn't it done for us? I mean, if there's nothing else to add on to it, we can go ahead. Salutations. Let everyone go on about their night.
Salutations. I just got 2 things. Peace to the panel, peace to the chat, peace to the silent majority. Shout out to Double Cousin. Wise words. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. And any fool can know. The point is to understand. Rest easy.
I'm like 2 ouches. What you got for him, Carpet and Dio? Brother James, whoever wanted to go next.
I'll go ahead and blow through real quick. I mentioned a while back something that Brother Malcolm said about political parties. And when I was talking earlier, I was reminded of why a lot of people don't enfranchise, why a lot of people don't participate in their representation in the government. And it's because we get sick of political parties. We get sick of this group that acts like it likes us and this other group that pretty much makes it plain that they don't. And Brother Malcolm referred to one of these groups as being the wolf. You know what the wolf is after. He makes no mistake about it. He makes sure you know about it as well, what he's after. But that fox, the other one. The fox is full of guile and likes to make you think that he cares about you, even as he's in agreement with the wolf on what's for dinner. And it's understandable why people would be skeptical of the government, why people would look at how the government operates. That was very corrupt people. I mentioned this before, that work in positions of power. Anytime you got an area where people have power, you have people that were mistreated. Well, shouldn't that same idea be applied to people in the community? Shouldn't we hold the people in the community that we trust, that we respect, to the same kind of scrutiny that we do the government? No, we just let them get away with stuff or let them go and mislead us or mislead others because they look like us, because they talk like us, because they got a similar worldview. We hate these other people over here that don't look like us. Again, you got the wolf that you know is an enemy, and you got the fox that acts like your friend. That same idea, that same concept that Brother Malcolm gave us can be applied here. And like we told you, if you don't go and you don't determine who you are and make that known to the government will deal with you as whoever else tells them you are. We talk about power. You have no power if somebody else is determining who you are. That means you're a child. That means you're a ward of the state. I don't mean an actual state of the United States. I'm talking about the state as in the government. You're under their care because you obviously can't handle freedom, so you don't have it. Isn't that what a lot of our brothers and sisters have talked about, this the sovereign stuff, about freedom and liberty, right? So you don't have it if you don't represent yourself. The whole idea of you having so-called freedom or liberty is the government has to know how to deal with you. That's why it has the bylaws and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all of this other stuff that it has. Now, as McIntyre once said, minority, minor, child. Why do you think you're being called that? Why do you think you're being called a minority, even though we all know there's more of us around here than people are letting know? Why do you think they're calling you that? It's not a matter of having a majority or minority of power, because your neighbors that don't look like you, they got different hair than you, different eye color, different skin tone. They in the same boat. Have you noticed? They locked in their house too. And yeah, you may see a couple of brazen people go and brandish their firearms or in front of the sheriff or the police or whatever have you in certain states. But that's all the show. The same way as Charlottesville, I'm going to hurt some feelings here, but I apologize. The same way in Charlottesville, that whole thing that was designed to make us mad about Confederates and white supremacists, that was a show as well. So pay attention. Pay attention to what you're looking at. And pay attention to the people around you, because I'm telling you, what's going on with the people around you is more real than what you're looking at on CNN and NBC and Fox News and all this other stuff.
You better know it.
Just pay attention. Because like I said, you got that wolf in front of you and you got the fox that's probably right beside you, saying all manner of things that look and sound good. But like Brother Dick Gregory said, don't go and believe everybody or the next person that come through talking about they're gonna take it to pardon my language, to white it. Because you're gonna get in the van and follow them, and by the time you get where you're supposed to be going, the police are there to arrest you. Why? Because it's a setup. Don't get set up. Don't just believe somebody because they told you they got out of a traffic ticket or got out of having to pay child support. And I'm not saying they haven't, but if they're telling you what to do, or if they're telling you, well, just do this and do this paperwork, what paperwork is it? What form is it? Because if it's actual paperwork that the government acknowledges, it's got a form number, it's got a form designation. You got W-2s and 1040s and stuff for taxes, don't you? If you pay taxes. All these forms have names. So you don't settle for people just saying we got paperwork. What form is it? And we talked about all the bureaus that are in this government and all the branches where you can go and find out what form you need for that and get it from the source. So I'll stop running my mouth. I yield the mic, and I appreciate the opportunity to come here on the platform, and I appreciate the conversation with everybody.
Anytime. Brother James, you still there?
Oh, yes, sir. I got kind of booted out for a little bit and came back in. All I can say is, again, tonight is only the tip of the iceberg. Go back and look again at those African nations. And as Sister Gabrielle Union said, put it side by side with that 23andMe color-coded map that tells you this is where you're from. And again, as Brother Copper Indio put it so eloquently, show me the precedent, because I'm waiting to see it. Because I know that Brown versus the Board of Education, they kept referring to Plessy versus Ferguson. Plessy versus Ferguson. If you haven't studied Plessy versus Ferguson, please study that. You understand dealing with Brown versus the Board of Education. So when everyone's telling you this and telling you that, there should be a paper trail that you should be able to look up, because I know I found my relatives that have gone before the Supreme Court and have won their cases. So somebody somewhere should be able to point you to a case. It doesn't have to be their personal case, but it has to be a case. Show me, please. Where did you pull this off? How did you pull this off? What was your reference point? What was the opinion? I'm waiting on that, but please do not. I can't stress this enough, and then I'm done. Do not allow foreigners to tell you that they know law when they haven't studied civics, because they haven't even gone through the process to become a naturalized citizen. And a lot of them don't have their green cards and they've overstayed their visas. And with that, I yield this cotton picking mic. Good night, everybody.
Flame on. Once again, thank everybody on the panel for the work they put in to keep making, don't want to call them shows, these moments where we bring information to our community so that way we can make better decisions moving forward. Also, thank the active chat and the silent majority, because it takes, again, all parties coming together to make this possible. And again, civics. We have to start getting back to the things that are important. We have to start educating ourselves in the things that affect us in our everyday life. And not only participate in it, make sure we inform others and make sure that we teach our children. So once we get out of these conditions and we build our new infrastructure, we make sure our children have the skill sets to maintain it. So on that, continue to keep working in your communities on the local level to see what programs that you can access today to make it better for tomorrow. Continue to keep spreading the word out there to let as many like-minded individuals know that there is a way that we can fix our communities without jeopardizing mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, uncles and aunties, or even yourself. Continue working on your genealogy, so therefore you may know who you are. No one can tell you who you are not. And that if you find your tribe and you choose that you want to join a tribe on a reservation, or you choose you want to practice your cultural way, whatever it is, that's your choice to choose. But you will know. So until we link up to the next time we get together, remember, we love you and peace.
Peace, everybody. Oh, okay.
Shout out to Swagoo. Still waiting on you.
We the ones slaved and oppressed, who never really know what's coming next. We the ones never on top, always getting harassed by a cop. We the ones, the only people on earth without a true nationality. Yeah, we the ones, the only nation of people disconnected from their families. 40 days and 40 nights, 40 years and mad fights, 400 years being oppressed. We shed so many tears, it's none left. My way to lament is get bent, sip a shot of some Henny and roll hemp. Play something that's fire and let me vent. The flows keep getting higher, they like rent. We truly come from kings and high priests. Now we're ruled by bought and sold like a commodity. Considered less than human, we just property. We the ones with a story so ill that some consider it a fable. We the ones know it gotta be real. If it wasn't, they wouldn't hate you. We the ones kept in the dark, who they lied to from the very start. We the ones mocked and abused, call a bunch of names people never used. We the ones. Yeah, we took that whooping and kept cooking. We the ones. But what goes round comes back round, so good looking. You can't have yin without a yang. Life needs balance to maintain. You can't have friends without a foe these days. Can't trust nobody, you never know. As you walk around, just know some people will love and some will hate you, but never keep your head down. Heads high, you should walk with pride and stay faithful. God first, never in church, I'm more spiritual. I take time crafting my verse, I'm more lyrical. It's hard work, feet in the dirt, more physical. Then after that I light up some purpose like a ritual. We the ones walking around. It gets deep, you gotta watch what you eat, so stay woke. Get dough while you hold it down. Keep a peace, but always seek peace and keep hope. We the ones kept in the dark, who they lied to from the very start. We the ones mocked and abused, call a bunch of names people never used. We the ones. Yeah, we took that whooping and kept cooking. We the ones. But what goes round comes back round, so good looking.